Gen Z and community. They grew up more connected to more people, right? Because they had these things. And by that, I mean this phone. You know what I'm doing. And so that generated a different kind of community, being able to talk to anybody across the globe. And community means something different to these guys. And a lot of us in media, when we think, us old-timers, when we think community, we have that synonymous with local a lot of the time. Community, local, community news, local news. For Gen Zers, community is something different. Community is an ability or a group of people that have like interests, that I understand each other. They could be anywhere, not geographically based. They understand local. You say local, yeah, that makes sense, local. Community could mean something different. So be aware of that when talking to them. And what is local to a Gen Z? Local they get. But if you're using community and local synonymously, remember for them, doesn't connect. And there's this big sense of collaboration. If I can connect to everybody, I can collaborate. And we can do all of these things together, and it leads to more equality because we're all in this together. We're all around the same thing, the same interests. We're pushing everything forward together, a greater sense of equality than other generations had at the time, which leads to inclusion. So every generation fought for it. I'm not saying any other generation didn't fight for inclusion. Here's the difference with Gen Z. They naturally expect it. That's already there. Why wouldn't we be inclusive? Why? I don't get why we wouldn't be. Why is there any difference? And that was fought for generations before them. They're already there, which leads to more collaboration, as I was saying. Everyone has a voice. All voices are equal. When at 2 o'clock, when these guys get up on stage, I want you to ask them about this. Ask how they go about project work. What do they do? How do they get something done? The idea of a hierarchy in a company is, what are you talking about? Remember we used to make fun of millennials, no offense, that millennials would come in and they want to be publisher in the next 2 weeks, or GM in the next 2 weeks. With Gen Z, it's a little bit different where, what do you mean you mean the guy, I could go just talk to the publisher, right? Because we're all kind of equal, we're trying to do the same thing, so it's kind of flat, right? But there's a dark side to this whole collaboration and inclusion thing. Let's go back to this guy, and let's think about how this guy entertained himself back in the day. Well, we had sitcoms. How many people remember Must See Thursday Night, right? With Family Ties and Cosby Show. That didn't age well. But there were sitcoms, of course, movies in the 80s, 90s, movies we went out. This particular guy also liked playing D&D, but that's another story. But that's what we were entertained by. That's what influenced us, again, at this young age. What about Gen Z? First of all, Must See Thursday Night. What the hell are you talking about? I must see anything I want at any time. So what is influencing them? And I posit this. They are surrounded by reality shows. If you don't believe me, here is a current list of reality shows they can partake in. They're growing up, remember, put yourself back there, they're growing up surrounded by this stuff. What does that do to somebody? Reality shows are omnipresent. Unscripted material equals entertainment now for them. That's how they grew up. Unscripted material equals entertainment. So also, mundane activities have become a sport. We all watch 12 English people bake cakes. Bake cakes. My point is, when are we going to have a reality show about people doing taxes? I mean, there are mundane activities have been turned into, grocery shopping has been turned into a sport. Again, these guys are surrounded by this. So life has become competitive content in a way. And that's game-changing. So a very real struggle for Gen Z is community and doing things together and being equal versus competition. Those, I don't have the answer. Those are two things that y'all have to balance, is community versus, and they're sitting over there, that they have to balance. how does that affect how they're seeing the world and how they're marketing?